Wow. Okay, so I'm from the Big Island of Hawaii. On the Big Island, especially in the 80s, we had like 3 radio stations. You had like Top 40, you had all reggae, and then you had Hawaiian. So we grew up listening to reggae on the Big Island. The music was just a perfect mesh. We had always Yellowman, Gregory, Dennis Brown, Bob Marley, always playing on the radio all the time. UB40 is so massive there, like, you know, like Shaggy. Like, we always had a huge exposure to reggae music in Hawaii. Not by choice, it just found us. And I mean, that's where the roots really took over for us.
Whoa, you're gonna have to, gotta go to the archives. Honestly, like, going through my parents' records, they had the Bob Marley album. I think it was called Rastaman Vibration, and then we had the Still Pulse album, the one with Rally Round the Flag. So like those songs I used to play like over and over again, and we had like Natural Hair and everything. So I felt like I was an honorary Jamaican, you know, growing up. And then just like the synergy of reggae and hip hop, you know, growing up as well. Like, it just was always a constant in my life.
Man, probably just, let's think about it. Honestly, just being at the beach, just like hearing it, you know, like that's just like a big part of like surf culture, you know. You just hear like a bob off in the distance and you're just like, yeah, we're home. We did it. But yeah, first show that like was probably when I was like 15 or something, that like I was at in Carpinteria. It was his band Cornerstone, and I was just like, his voice, everything, like it just felt like thumping, like a heart, like a sweaty heartbeat, and the whole room was just like vibrating. And so I was like, yeah, this is dope. So yeah, that was kind of like just growing up around it, you know. A lot of dope bands from like San Diego and Santa Barbara, all like stupid, were like hometown heroes to me growing up, you know. So all of it's just ingrained, I think, in like a part of the SoCal culture, you know. And you just hear it driving around, you hear it, you know. You're like, oh, that person's bumping that, that's cool, you know. So yeah, just being around, you know, the people that listen to it is what got me into it, I guess.
To reggae music, whoa. First introduction to reggae music, well, me personally, I would say that was at the age of maybe 8. Like, really, I remember hearing like a record playing in my house, and I was like, who is that? It was a Alton Ellis. It was an Alton Ellis record, you know. That was my first, I guess, initial, you know, breakthrough into reggae music. But I mean, growing up in Jamaica, we hear it playing all around, you know, on sound system and stuff like that. You know the one then.
For me, I don't even remember. I was so far back, you know. My daddy used to always play a little box guitar and sing, so that was it for me. Yeah, man.
Huh. I guess if I had to really think back, we always had Bob Marley Legend like playing around the house, like when I was a little kid, just like any good Christian family. You have that shit going. But I don't know. Yeah, I guess I got into like, I probably did it like backwards from a lot of people, but I got into like hip hop and like punk rock and ska music and stuff first, and then like you go far enough back on those trails and you end up like finding like everything else too. So, you know, so I got familiar with some of the more like underground stuff, and then a big one for me was Damian Marley and Nas's album. That was like kind of bridged the worlds for me, because I just wasn't really around it a lot, like in Cleveland. There's a killer Cleveland band called Carlos Jones and the Plus Band, and they're like real roots reggae. Carlos is the man. They kill it. So that was definitely an introduction as well.
Oh man, I think my first, I think besides Bob Marley, because that was definitely my first introduction. My dad put me on the Toots and the Maytals though at a young age, Pressure Drop, and I fell in love with that song like freshman year of high school, and then dug into their catalog, 54, 46, and that was really my intro, I think, properly.
Yeah, I'm trying to think proper intro, because, you know, we all have the Bob Marley Legend album, as all good families do. I feel like all good Christian families do. Yeah, I feel like I had Rafi was maybe first. I don't know if he counts as reggae. Baby Beluga, is that reggae? I don't know. Rafi the Child's Music. Oh man, that guy was great. But honestly, not a lot of reggae in my house. The closest we probably came was like I was grateful my dad bought the Fugees' The Score album, which was pretty sick.
Kevin's the hip hop side of our group.
My first introduction to reggae music was from my pops. He was a reggae artist. Moved to the States from Jamaica back in the 70s to do music, and so for me, it was the first music I ever heard, the first music I ever fell in love with. So it's literally been there. My mom tells me she used to put speakers around her belly when I was inside, you know what I mean, and just play reggae music. So for me, it was literally the first music I ever heard. So yeah, for me, it's been all my life. Anybody else wanna?
For me, it'd probably be the Scotalites and the ska scene. I grew up in San Diego, and in the 90s, SoCal in general had a very robust ska scene, so that's kind of where I came up.
For me, like Kareem, it's been my whole entire life, as a full-blooded Caribbean child, being a Jamaican father and Belizean mother. I was just around it. It was always there. It's what I lived, it's what I knew. A long time before I knew any other styles or genres of music, it was really just reggae and calypso and soca and that kind of thing in my household. So for me, it's life.
I think Sublime was probably, I would have to go with Sublime. I think, that had a huge influence on some of the first records I made, and just like the way he blended genres together was a huge influence on even my music now.
First introduction to reggae music, I think my first reggae show was Eka Mouse at the Coach House in San Juan Capistrano. One of my buddies took me to that show, and it actually kind of changed my life. I was like, crushed it the first time I saw it live in front of me, and I was like, I love this. But also my dad and my stepdad, my mom and everything always listened to reggae around me, but like I was always into punk rock before that, and the first time I saw a real reggae show live is what really got me hooked. So that's me personally.
Sublime.
Yeah, Sublime.
Sublime.
Yeah.
A lot,
Yeah.
A lot of fucking music.
Yeah, that self-titled record. First time I remember finding that in my parents' stack of CDs. Damn. And I'll never forget me putting it into the CD player at home. We had like a home theater, and like I'll never forget like seeing it, and like the clown guy on the couch, like that Opie drawing. Popped that thing in, and I remember like the third song, like Wrong Way. Yeah, Wrong Way. That song, like as soon as I heard it, I was in love.
Oh wow! Well, the first reggae show that I'll talk about that. The first reggae show I ever went to, Vermont Reggae Festival, 1996 maybe, 97, 96 Vermont Reggae Festival, and it was I actually dropped a hit of acid. I was 16, and I saw. The ones that really jumped out was Burning Spear and Israel Vibration, but the contrast was the biggest thing that jumped out to me, because like I love both those artists, and I had heard a lot of their music up until that point, but there was something about Izzy Vibes when they were on stage that was mystical, and that was like a game-changing moment for me. It was raining, and I was watching Izzy Vibes like dancing on stage, with the canes, and it was like one of the like top 10 influential moments of my life, probably.